Hi, friends. So I am in a lab coat today because I am going to show you how we break down a story. I'm going to be the doctor of article news writing today, and I hope you're very excited for the doctor of article news writing to show you how we're going to doctor this. Okay, so this is what I need you to know. That if ever you're getting confused, you're going to replay a part of the video. You are going to reread a part of the video. You're going to ask questions. We're going to make this work, but this is how we format a story, meaning structure and actual technical formatting. Number one, the inverted pyramid. You have seen the inverted pyramid before. It's what we talked at the beginning, a couple videos ago. But when we have the beautiful inverted pyramid, we have our lead, our most important facts up here at the top. Then we have our body, which is our details of our story. And we're going to do the most important information, the next most important information, the next most information, the next information, right? I stumbled over my words. And then we're going to have the tail, which is our extra info. It's our concluding details. There are our least important facts of the story. We've moved down to where if somebody doesn't read this part, they still know the meat of our story, right? Okay, if you need to pause here because you're like, wow, I don't remember that. Pause now. Let's keep going. Okay, lead, bridge, quote. Wow, my little image is so big. Here we go. Okay, where can I put this thing? We're going to put it right here. Okay, you're just going to struggle with me. Okay, lead, bridge, quote is how we're going to move through our story. But here's where I'm going to get crazy on you, is that lead isn't necessarily going to be our first part. It's going to be the topic sentences as we move through different topics of our story, different details, okay? So our lead is the sentence that starts your story, and it's the most important information. Then our bridge is our information that supports our lead, okay? And then we're going to have a quote that's going to connect to these two pieces right here. So I wrote a little sample one. I'm a huge KU basketball fan, and KU has a really cool coach called Bill Self. So if I were actually writing this story, I would spell out KU and I would spell out UNC, and in case you guys didn't know, Roy Williams, the UNC basketball coach, coached for KU before he left KU, and so there's like a rivalry there. So here we go. My lead, my important part that tells me the information. This is a completely made up and imaginary story. KU basketball coach Bill Self was hospitalized and remains in critical condition after becoming the victim of a hit-and-run accident from a car driven by UNC basketball coach Roy Williams. Bridge, supporting information. Self was on Jayhawk Boulevard when the incident occurred. Williams continued on to destroy the Chi Omega fountain. No arrest has been made. Okay, we supported that information. The part about destroying the fountain is not as important as the fact that Bill Self was involved in a hit-and-run accident. So that went second. And then my quote to support what we've said. So we've said he was in a hit-and-run accident. So now good old Bill's going to talk. I heard old Roy shouting at me that he was going to win, and then I saw the headlights coming for me. Regardless of how I feel, I will be coaching tomorrow night. Now that Miss Stingley has a really grave error on this page, there should be a comma right here instead of a period and little quotation marks, and it should say Self said. Okay, lead, bridge, quote. Then guess what? I was looking this up, and the first story that I came across literally went lead, bridge, quote, because New York Times was waiting for me to need a shining example. So here we go. Lead. International clinical trials published on Wednesday confirm the hope that cheap, widely available steroid drugs can help seriously ill patients survive COVID-19, the illness caused by the coronavirus. This tells us the important parts of the story. Whoa, there are now steroid drugs that might be able to help COVID-19. We're seeing it in international trials. Bingo. Then bridge. This is going to be our supporting part, where it's not as important as this part, but it's pretty important. It's going to support our story. Based on the new guidance, the World Health Organization issued new treatment guidance, strongly recommending steroids to treat severely and critically ill patients, but not those with mild disease. Excellent. Okay, we're getting information. Then, quote, clearly now steroids are the standard of care, said Dr. Howard C. Bachner, the editor-in-chief of JAMA, which published 5 papers about the treatment. Okay, where we have the which published 5 papers about the treatment right here. You see that with my massive mouse? That is trying to explain to us that that's giving the credibility to who this person is. So that's the point there. Okay, lead, important, bridge, supports, quote, ties us. Now we're going to go into our next, I'm going to call it a lead, okay? It's kind of our next topic sentence for the next part of the story. So that's going to be right here. I didn't want to confuse you and write it again, but it's going to say, the new studies included analysis that pooled data from 7 randomized critical clinical trials. So this is telling us that there's more information here. It's not as important as this. It's telling us how we even got this information, and it came from these clinical things. So then clinical trials, as we go on, then we're going to have a bridge, and then we're going to have another quote. Okay, lead, bridge, quote. Note this while we're on this slide. We have really short paragraphs. Check this out. One sentence, one sentence, one sentence, 2 sentences. Whoa, they're short. They're quick. They're easy to read. They're packed with information. Boom. Okay, so let's talk paragraphing. Okay, when you write your paragraphs, you are going to keep your paragraphs short. Be concise. We're going to limit to 1 idea per paragraph, and we're going to use transitions to move between ideas. Okay, hear me out. When I say we're going to use transitions, I don't necessarily mean transition words. I mean that our story is going to flow so that way it makes sense, the order in which we're telling things. You're never going to use the following words. Clearly. Clearly is opinion. It may not be clear to somebody else. Furthermore, that means that we're leading to something. We're trying to explain. Don't do it. On the contrary, it may not be contrary. You're deciding it's contrary. However, it may not be a however. Or on the other hand, there may not be another hand, right? We don't want to lead people on with our story. We want to give them the facts for them to develop their own opinion. Okay, I want to talk about keeping our paragraph short and limiting to 1 paragraph, 1 idea per paragraph. Going back. Okay, right here when I said 1 idea per paragraph. International trials on Wednesday confirmed the hope that cheap, widely available steroid drugs can help ill patients survive COVID-19. Boom. We learned that steroids can help patients survive COVID. That's the idea. That's the idea. Then we wanted our detail, right? This next part says it's not there to help people who are mildly ill. It's here to help people that are really ill, right? That's the idea in that paragraph. Boom. Then the idea in this quote is steroids are the standard of care. Boom. Then the idea of this paragraph, right, is that they're telling us about the clinical trials. We had 7 clinical trials confirmed. That's the idea in that paragraph. 1 idea per paragraph so that it's simple for your reader. Okay. Let's look at the paragraphs. Can you see that says transition between ideas? Because I can't shrink my picture. It gets weird. Okay. Short paragraphs. Look. Short. They're so short. 1 idea per paragraph. The process of Hoggett's success has been everything from a letter to a phone call from the state superintendent, Joy Hoffmeister. We explained who the state superintendent was. She's Joy Hoffmeister, right? But check it out. That's 1 idea. There's 1 idea. Even when we get to our first one, Norman's High very own Elizabeth Hoggett was awarded the Teacher of the Year and finalist for Oklahoma State Teacher of the Year. It's 1 idea. All right, 1 idea. 1 idea per paragraph. Simple. 1 sentence. 1 sentence. 1 sentence. 2 sentences. 2 sentences. Right? Okay. And we're going to transition. There's going to be flow. Flow, flow. Okay. Ah, crap. Now I'm going to have to shrink my picture. Here we go. Beep, 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 beep. I'm little. All right. You may need to pause on this slide to really ingest this information in your brain. I'm going to take you through it. It's going to take a while. Put me on 2 times speed. I don't care. Let's go through this. When you have a quote, you are always, always, always going to use their name and then said. You're never going to say exclaimed, shouted, expressed, hollered, yelled, questioned. Those are all opinions. What might be hollering to you may not be hollering to me, but said is considered a basic word. It is opinionless. Okay, check my example. I have eaten 9 birthday cakes and I still feel empty, Gene Belcher said. Thank you, Bob's Burgers. Okay, real quote. But right here, I want you to notice, taking away this Bob's Burgers part, because that's not really going to be in your story, I have quotation marks. Then I have my sentence. Then I end right here with a comma, a closing quotation mark, and then I have Gene Belcher, his name, said, period. structure all quotes this way. Okay. You'll only use their last name after they've already been introduced in your story. So if I talked about Jean Belcher earlier, I'm not going to keep saying Jean Belcher said, Jean Belcher said, Jean Belcher said. I'm just going to say Belcher said. Boom. Belcher said. Perfect. Check out my example. I have eaten 9 birthday cakes and I still feel empty. Belcher said. Boom. Done. Did it. Nailed it. Okay. Unless, I have all these unless, I have a lot of caveats, all right? But here we go. Unless you are writing about people who have the same last name, then you're going to use their first and last name each time. But you are never just going to use their first name, ever, okay? So if I were writing my story and I was writing about Tina Belcher and Jean Belcher, because I had both of them in my story, then I'm going to have to say Tina Belcher, Jean Belcher, Tina Belcher, Jean Belcher. I'm never going to say just Belcher, and I'm never going to say just Tina or just Jean because I have 2 of them, right? So I can't tell who that is. But you're never, ever, ever just going to refer to first name, and you're never, ever, ever, ever going to use just the last name if there's 2 people by the same last name. But you're going to use just the last name if there's only 1 person by that last name. Okay, that's a lot to say. Okay. This is a really big rule, and it makes me sad to have to say it, but I have to say it. Never modify a quote. Never make up a quote. Never change somebody's words. They said it. Don't change it. You get into hot water really, really fast. Don't do it. Okay. Each quote's going to be a new paragraph. When we go back to my example here, this quote is a new paragraph. This quote is a new paragraph. See? But I never am going to stack quotes, meaning I'm never going to put a quote, quote. You have to have explanation in the middle. Never quote, quote. Explanation in the middle. You have to have that. And even this isn't quite right because I need 2 paragraphs here. I need a lead and a bridge. Okay. There we go. If a quote is more than 1 sentence, you're going to put last name said after the first sentence and then finish the quote. Here's my example. It's a wonder I can fit it all in one day. Dunham said. Last name, Dunham, said. Then I'm going to continue. With Stuco, Compet, Yearbook, and Aegis, my days are crammed. That was a 2-sentence quote. I broke it up with his last name and said, easy. Boom. You can do it. Here we go. Okay. Steps to writing our story. Number 1, gather your information. This means you're going to interview because you're telling their story and they're going to be your facts. When you get your interviewed, you're going to make sure that it's diversified. I mean different grades. I mean different races. I mean different genders that are all involved in that because we want perspective, baby. That matters. Then you're going to make sure you're getting quotes that say something. I don't want superfluous quotes. I don't want one-word quotes. I don't want quotes. We want quotes that mean something, that matter, that say something, that add to our story. Next, you're going to write your lead at that very first sentence that gives me the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. Bingo, okay? If you're confused, see the video about leads. Then we're going to expand our story. We're going to get into the body of our story, and we're going to go lead, bridge, quote, lead, bridge, quote, lead, bridge, quote, all in separate paragraphs, right? So we're going to do our most important information, our newsworthy part, then the part that's not as important that supports our lead, then our quote, then we're going to move on to the next part of our story, the next information we want to tell, then our bridge that's going to talk about the lead that supports it, and then our quote, and we're going to lead, bridge, quote all the way through the body of our paragraph till we get to the end. I believe in you. Okay, quotes. Remember that they should stand alone in their own paragraph. We are never, ever, ever going to stack quotes, right? We're never going to go quote, quote. We need a lead and a bridge in there. We got to have the lead and the bridge. And the paragraph should lead into the quote, the parts before that. So that lead and bridge should connect with that quote. If they don't connect with that quote, then it doesn't work. Okay, mention the person being quoted and have the content connect. So you're never just going to stay Miss Stingley, because people know who Miss Stingley is, right? So you're going to have to say English, journalism, and newspaper teacher Miss Stingley is excited for the coming year. Then you're going to go back in. Actually, I wouldn't even say Miss Stingley. Maybe Elizabeth Stingley, but flow with me. I'm tired, okay? Then you're going to go into the quote down below, and when you have my little quote, you're going to say, I cannot wait for the coming year to meet all of my students. They are so wonderful, comma, quote, Stingley said. Boom, you introduced me, then I had a quote. Nailed it. Okay. Consider your transitions, right? We're creating flow. We want somebody to read through a story naturally. It should not feel mechanical. You should be able to flow. Number 6, create the conclusion. Okay. You do not need to put a happy ending on your story unless there's a happy ending. Don't do it. There's no need for something pretty to tie it all up with a nice little bow. Once the material of your story is finished, you're done. But note this, if you're listening, I'm giving you the best information I ever could, and it's this. The most perfect way to end a story is on a quote. The most perfect way to end a story is on a quote. The most perfect way to end a story is on a quote. Okay, formatting guidelines. Guess what? Oh, my picture is going to be massive. Oh, it doesn't let me move it if it's massive. Okay, I want it to come over here so that way you can see me. Check it out. You are going to use Times New Roman font. You know that font. You're going to use 12-point font. You know that. You're going to use spacing that is double spaced. Heck yes, you know how to do that. Your style is going to be AP style, which is like MLA and that kind of format, except AP style is what journalists use. It stands for Associated Press, okay? And here is the actual AP style guide. I have a really beautiful printed one that I'm very, very proud of. But what you can do, fancy enough, is Google and it'll give you the information. And it tells you all of these really weird rules like how to write dates and how to write times. But I'm not going to be too much of a stickler about this, except for the next 2 parts. Okay. You're not going to use a comma in a list of items where the Oxford comma usually goes. Watch my example. Blue, comma, green, and red. You're not going to put a comma before green like usual. That's called the Oxford comma. And I love it, but newspaper writing doesn't love it. Okay. So blue, comma, green, and red. Apples, comma, oranges, and bananas, right? Okay. Don't do it. Okay. Next thing. That is used for things. Who is used for people. So the computer, that is blue. That, it's a thing. A computer's a thing. The woman who is laughing. Guess what? The woman is a person, so we're going to use who. We wouldn't say the woman that is laughing. She's not a thing. We wouldn't say the computer who is blue. It's not a person. Okay? That is used for things. Who is used for people. Side note, this is important to know for your English class too. Yay! Okay. My too long don't read. This isn't even fair. These are just things that I wanted you to remember, but I want you to remember this entire thing and rewatch it as needed. Frequent paragraphs. 1 idea per paragraph. 2 to 3 sentences max. Don't stack your quotes, meaning quote, quote. Remember, we need lead, bridge. We're going to do big lead, bridge, quote, lead, bridge, quote, lead, bridge, quote, lead, bridge, quote. I can't go up another octave, so I won't use last names. Never just a first name. You must have a last name regardless. Okay, but when you first introduce somebody, you use your first name and your last name. Okay, that's what I've got for you. You're going to do this. I believe in you. When you need help, you're going to ask for it and you're going to Google and you're going to advocate for your needs and you're brilliant and you're kind and you're journalists. Go forth and be journalists. Bye.